Back. It's another episode of How Billy Sees It. We've been away for a bit, maybe a week or so, but we are here to get on and to talk and to chat. I'm so grateful that you be with me. Um, and we're continuing the series on authenticity, yo. We talk about authenticity. We try to give language to it, something that we kind of take for granted and assume that we all know what we're talking about when we say it, or that we all know what it is when we see it. I don't think that that's necessarily the case, especially right now in this weird, wacky world that we're in, um, with the technologies that we all have and the ways that we communicate with each other. I think it's important to talk about authenticity. So I've felt compelled to, and I think we've tackled a lot of good stuff here so far. So I just want to continue that. Today, actually, I was thinking about like how to talk about it or how to get into authenticity today, and YouTube or Instagram boom gives me the inspiration. You know what I'm saying? And a video comes across of this dude Clavicular. Y'all familiar with Clavicular? Yeah, Clavicular. I don't know what part of the country he's in, but young white dude, influencer, pretty successful with what he's doing. He is a pioneer and one of the most visible uh, people in this like looks maxing thing, this phase, this rave called looks maxing. Are y'all familiar now? Looks maxing. This is just an attempt, and it seems to be an offshoot of like the manosphere. So it's a very strange thing. Looks maxing is this cultural phenomenon of men, in particular, men um, doing a whole range of techniques to improve their masculine image. It's very image conscious sort of movement, and it's all about articulating a set of values around like facial structure, body and physique, a masculine, like the ideal masculine performance, the ideal masculine look, and then like doing whatever it takes to achieve it. From little things, I don't know, from a very nice skin routine and typical kind of things, to like hitting their faces, like punching your face into shape. If you can apply pressure to certain bones in the face with enough consistency, you can actually reshape your face to have a stronger jawline and cheekbones and this and that. I think it's very crazy. I think it's a little weird. I don't want to say crazy. I think it's a little weird. I think it's interesting that this is a real masculine phenomenon when I grew up, all of these preoccupations with like being seen and being beautiful or being, you know, um, the outward gaze, like looking attractive to others, was considered a feminine phenomenon. But it just goes to show that these things are all fluid and these things are always moving. These things are always moving, you know. I mean, we're gonna get into some of that today. Just the way we talk about ourselves. That's what this whole series is about. And that's what this video is gonna be about. It's about the way we talk about ourselves, the ideas that we hold in our heads. There's a reality out there in the world, and then there's an idea that we hold in our heads, and that the idea in our heads is quite a bit more powerful to us. That is what drives us. It is what um it's what we deal with. It's the inner voice that we're dealing with, and it informs the choices we make. I do think that there's something powerful about having your inner voice or your inner story comport with reality. To actually have an inner voice that maps somewhat onto reality, rather than to have an inner voice that is just completely unrealistic. It's this mythological thing that is always nagging you or screaming at you. I grew up, or as a young adult, I started my business in this like grind mode era, and I developed an inner voice that just told myself that I had to always keep going. You have to make money. You have to be efficient every second of the day. Every minute of the day needs to be a money making project. Anything less than that is not it. And this nagging inner critique would drive me. It drove me to really achieve quite a bit. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna, like, I always say these things, like as I point these things out, some of it, it's just an observation. I want to learn from them. I want to take the best from it, and I want to discard the worst from it. So some of the worst from that era and that story that I had was like sleep deprivation, a real inability to be present, a real inability to sort of just enjoy what is. I was measuring and judging everything on its capacity to be a profit venture or something like this. That's absurd, but that's how it was. Down to lunch, I didn't eat lunch. I mean, at that time, there was this. It probably still exists. This like meal replacement thing called what's it called? It's people Soylent, and it was a meal replacement where the claim was you could eat this thing or you can drink this drink forever, and you never have to eat food again. And I was on that shit, bro. I skipped lunch and dinner. I went several days sometimes just drinking Soylent because in my mind, what it meant was I had a free that hour that would have been eating, maybe thinking, maybe playing, maybe communicating with others. that was a waste, and that I had to be more efficient. So Soylent gave me that opportunity. It tasted like cardboard. It was terrible, but I did that. And I had that for years. I had a subscription that would send me, 12 bottles a week, something like this. Anyway, what's the point here? What's the point? How is that related to clavicular? It's the story you have in your head, bro. So I just saw this interview where he's going to, apart from already being this looks maxing president, he wants to go further, and he's looking into getting leg lengthening surgery. So the interviewer is asking him like, "Yo, you're 6'2". Why would you want leg lengthening surgery?" And his reply is, "Well, it's really all about presence. You got to see this thing yourself. Look it up. It's on YouTube or Instagram. It's really all about presence. When you're 6'2", he starts talking about percentiles. When you're 6'2", that's the top 90 percentile. Yeah, that's okay. I like to be the best. I want to be the best. I want to be the 99 percentile. When you're in the middle of a club and you're 6'6", 6'6", 6'7", you can't be ignored. You get all this attention." And that's his goal. He's talking percentiles. He's talking about being perceived, and he's talking about standing out. And for him, this is what he calls the best, this kind of physical development with a very specific set of values. And he's willing to take it to these kinds of extremes. Further, clavicular, this whole career that he has on streaming with this stuff, I mean, he's being rewarded also. There's financial incentive for him to be increasingly more absurd. I mean, this is just an interesting phenomenon that is unique to this moment. It's unique to this moment. It's unique to everything that is in this moment. Like I said, it's an offshoot. It's the next evolution of the manosphere, this like hyper fixation on the self, hating women. Hating women. Like I said, a lot of the manosphere dudes hate women so much that they end up gay. They end up arguing against relationships with women. It's that dude Myron Gaines. He says, forget marriage, forget dating women. Women make you soft. Why don't you get a house with your best dude friend and y'all make money together? And it's this continuation of that. It's this story. And you might look at it and go, that's crazy. That's a weird way to be. But it is the natural offshoot of having a very particular story and holding to that story and going down the natural path that like the foundations of what you built there, because you separated yourself from women and you developed this ecosystem of like friends and followers and fans who y'all agree on those terms. And then you just keep going. So first it starts with all dating and how can we get the women and how can we trick the women into sex with us, and because they're separate from us, they're not us. And then eventually it just goes down this line where you just keep hating them, and now you don't want anything to do with them, and now you should shack up with your dude friends. So now clavicular, already a handsome guy, already, you know what I'm saying, doing, I don't know, like what else could he want? He's 6'2". He wants to be 6'7". Now, if you don't know anything about this surgery too, this is a very invasive surgery. This is not a small potatoes kind of thing. This is a surgery. It's only recently been developed. It's still, in its beta phase or whatever. It's still not, I don't know if it'll ever be like 100% perfect, whatever that even means, but it's a dangerous invasive procedure. It's an 8 to 12 month, bed rest kind of situation. They break your femur, your big bone here. They break it, snap it in half, and the procedure is they place a metal rod that expands in place of where, at the point of the break. And it's just over the course of several months after the surgery, after resting, you whether manually or automatically, I don't know, it slowly stretches the bone, stretches itself, and over time hits the mark of whatever four inches that it wants. And this is wild stuff. This is really a procedure. I mean, if anyone's broken a leg before or had some kind of leg surgery, I had a knee surgery thing. It was horrendous. It was horrendous. I can't even imagine what he's intending to do. And lots of people are doing it. More and more young men are taking up this this surgery. They've all agreed. So many of us have agreed. You look at the dating shows, we've all agreed that there is something about masculinity and height and attractiveness and desire and value in height. Okay. I've always said, though, and I'll continue to say, man, I really do think it's important to have some kind of a balance between the external assessment and these external value judgments and these external definitions, and a balance between that and your own assessment and your own judgment. And it's not even really a balance. You need to tip the scale heavily for you. You have to love yourself. You have to love yourself as you are. You can adorn yourself however you want. You can dress however you want. You can walk and talk, live however you want. And then, as people assess you and they assume things about you, you have to find a way to love and engage with yourself without these judgments. I have a whole other episode about stop thinking, about measurement. I'm really talking to measurement. I'm talking to how you assess yourself and how you think about yourself, because that's how you think about the world. This thing goes further. So percentiles, man. He wants to be in the 99 percentile. And it's all about being seen. It's all about being standout from the crowd. Really interesting stuff. I truly believe that underneath so many of our problems, that underneath so many of our things going on in the world, there is this challenge of the story that each of us is holding. You know what I mean? And these stories develop over time. You develop all of these things to justify them again, but you have to pull them down. You have to pull them down and come back to the truth, which is that it's all one thing, and that you're a powerful and beautiful person exactly as you are. You were born without flaw. and that's true. And you have to know that. I mean, this extends further, right? Let me jump into the next example. Elon Musk, one of the world's richest men. If you go on Twitter, which he owns, you'll find several posts from Elon Musk where he's gone from first sort of, what is the white replacement theory? He's gone from hating immigrants to really going hard for white people. He's very much involved in making the case that white people are being diminished, that brown people are taking over Europe and the United States and the Americas, and white people have to have more kids. White people need to protect their culture and have more kids with white people. He'll say that openly. He's rich enough. This is a goofy time of just truth, and he's rich. These are things that I think 15 years ago you don't say. He didn't say. But he grew up in apartheid South Africa. His father's just an clear open racist in the interviews that you see with him. So Elon Musk, one of the richest men in the world, a guy who benefits, I think 50% of his income comes from the United States taxpayer through the programs that he has with the US government. But he's committed to the idea that white people are a dying breed and need to do a bunch of work and breed themselves and have kids with other white people. Very important, very important. And what's the relation there? It's more stories. It's more belief in definitions that aren't real. He creates, if you go to his page or his X, his Twitter, you see these maps with these heat maps showing migration patterns, and you see these things about population sizes of white people and black people. He invented that. He and his other idiot friends invented that. They believe a set of stories, they're committed to a set of stories, and now they're deeply anxious about that. The richest man in the world could sit the fuck down somewhere. His money comes in without him having to worry. This is the thing, like, you think it's all about money. He's got all the money in the world. He doesn't have to worry about anything for generations. And it's all set up. There's more coming in every second for him, right? Go sit down somewhere. But he can't. He's got this new preoccupation. He has developed a story about whiteness, and he is deeply, deeply concerned and serious. It creates an anxiety for him that he has to post several times a week about the preservation of whiteness. And just like when you look at Clavicular and you go, bro, you're 6'2", man. You don't need to be 6'7". Like, what's the deal? It doesn't matter what this, your observation, this logic is. It's so funny. It doesn't matter because he's deeply committed to a story, which is a collective sort of kind of a mind worm, brain rot story that he got from other people that they're all committed to. And it's, you come with a different story. You come with a story of, yo, look at yourself. You're fine. It's kind of like talking to a person with what's the one where they eat, they can't stop eating, or they don't eat, bulimia or anorexia or something. You say, yo, you look great. And they might not catch it. It's the story in your mind. Elon Musk, he can't sit down. He can't look at black people and chill. He can't see, black people running for Congress and this and that. And without chilling, he sees an invasion because he's committed to that separation. He's committed to the story. It's entirely not real. It doesn't have to be true. The world is one thing, and it changes and it evolves. There are migration patterns. There's socio and political, economic shifts and things happening all the time. And he commits himself to a very particular thing. I mean, that's what white supremacists do. That's what white supremacy is. That's what Nick Fuentes does as well. This definition. And it doesn't even fully make sense quite often, right? They can't even properly define white, but they kind of just know. They just know it needs to be preserved. So the power of stories, yo. Here's what's so powerful, yo, is that once you realize that you can drop those stories, once you really realize that and get that, all the stories, the racist Elon Musk story, the weird feminine, masculine, clavicular sort of looks maxing story, the story I had about grind, about my value, this is still a story that exists for a lot of people, a lot of black men, a lot of men in particular, like story of my value. I don't have value unless I provide, I have a business, I have this sort of income. We tell ourselves these things. We tell ourselves these things often. And they operate consciously and on a subconscious level. And they inform us to be anxious. And they rob us of our ability to actually be present and to love the moment and to love ourselves. You know what I'm saying? It's so funny. It's so funny, yo. One of the funniest examples, man, that was that Tyrone Biggums, yo, from the David Chappelle show. Tyrone Biggums, you look at that episode of Tyrone Biggums, the black white supremacist, and you laugh because it's funny. It was a very funny clip, very funny concept. And they executed it in a very funny way. And you think that Tyrone Biggums is the only goofy in there. He's the only doofus. He's the one that's the most confused, right? But let me tell you, from my story, from my understanding, from the truth, from the reality of the oneness of all things, from my capacity to shed silly, divisive stories, we understand that it's not just Tyrone Biggums that was fucked up. It's those other dudes. You think just because they were racist and white, that made sense, that they're normal. Oh, that's normal behavior to be white and racist. That's not normal behavior. They're attached to a false story. They're stupid. Tyrone Biggums also he was so dumb that he also, he was blind. He never looked in the mirror. No one told him he was ignorant. He's ignorant in a very specific and funny way. But those white guys, those enablers of his ignorance were also ignorant. They don't have to exist in that story. You can sit, you know, in fact, look how much they hate black people, but they ended up elevating this black guy, you know, this clearly cohesion between the races is a possible thing. It's the stories in your heads. So I'm gonna wrap it up with just a thought, because we're going back to authenticity again. What does it mean then to be authentic? It is, I think, it is an evolving challenge and an evolving dance between the personal intuition, your personal inner values and definitions, and the ones that are frequently being imposed on you, yo. And as a child, you don't even know that you're playing this game. As a child, you don't know you're playing this game. So as a child, you grow up with whatever you grew up with, and you grapple with it. And you know, I grew up hating my lips, bro. I love my lips now. Check them out. But I grew up hating my lips. I thought they were big. You can see a lot of pictures of me like that, hiding the lips. Just a story in my head. Just a story. My authenticity is driven by self-love. And I think that all of us are capable of a kind of self-love that just overtakes all this other stuff. You know what I'm saying? Hold on, I got a call. Hold on, let me block this. Yeah, that overtakes all this other stuff. Would have been 22 minutes. That's about it. I'm gonna wrap it up. Yo, thanks for checking out. That's just how I see it, how Billy sees it. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about everything I've talked about here, and check out the other videos in the series. And be sure to check out my wife, See Like Sheba. She's doing her show again today. See you later. Peace.